it was very harmful and everybody just kept sharing all the positive sides of being a content creator. I was like, I was losing myself. Everything was normal just a minute ago. Why am I obsessing now? A lot of people around me are so well decked up in terms of so in with their fashion sense and lifestyle, and I am not. That's a stress for me. So today, what has happened is, earlier during those times, the evolutionary period, we used to look at only certain ABC situation as crisis. My second coping mechanism is to write about all of my failures and the not so cool moments on LinkedIn. And then hours would go by. 4 hours, 5 hours gone. My family is like, what has happened to you? What's wrong with you? Our brain physically, on a physical level, learns from failure whenever you make a mistake. I totally believe whenever you want to resolve an issue, you have to focus on solution. One simple funda, what can I do about it? Niyu, Ekta, I welcome you with all my heart. I'm deeply excited to be here sitting face to face with you. And we are going to have an amazing session. I'm very sure about this. So before I actually start with the questions that I have for you two, I have a few things to say myself. I've battled with anxiety. I was one of those people who actually went ahead and took external help. This was my life like 4 or 5 years ago, and things are sorted now. I'm actually out of it. I just want to say that through my own battle with anxiety, what I've learned is that first, this is a very real issue. A lot of us go through this. And second, despite the help being available out there, we avoid doing it. A lot of people just do not want to accept help from outside. And that is something that bothers me a lot on a personal level. And we're going to talk about it more. The question goes like this. In India, we still do not talk about mental health. People in their teens or early 20s who are just starting out into the world are often told by older generations that their stress handling capacity is less or they are overreacting when they try to discuss mental health issues with parents or teachers. How does, according to you, how does a young person tackle this, especially when there's no familial support or empathy from the world or people around them? So I have this, I have also worked through a lot of mental health issues in 2021, and I took a step back and I've observed a lot of trends. So when it came to our earlier generation, I don't think they actually gave a lot of space for such issues to actually take precedence or have some space in their lives. For example, because it's an all women panel, I'll give an example that many can hit that'll hit close to home. That when a girl gets married and moves to the in-laws' place, it's a very huge transition, and that can cause a lot of issues. And then when as you keep evolving through life, you will have kids, you have to raise kids, and all of those things are a huge mental strain. And it's just not something that our parents, our mothers had space to even express because nobody else thought about those things. But as medical science shows today, postpartum depression is a thing. So at that particular point of time, if you would probably express those feelings, others may not know. The second thing I actually want to say is there was this interesting article I had read about sexuality in rural areas. And that article said that in urban areas, we're all very reticent about sharing things that go in the bedroom or issues that happen with our family. But if you actually go to rural areas, the women in clusters are actually much more free to express things that happen about their issues, about their stresses. And the women form a very close-knit group in rural areas, but that's not there in urban areas because of the point that we're all nuclear, we're all spread apart. So I think that was the sort of stress our parents dealt with. And what's happening right now that I observe amongst a lot of kids is that, that's people who are younger than me, is that they look at social media, and social media has become like this highlight reel of what's happening in their life. If you scroll through LinkedIn as a platform, you notice everybody is just sharing their achievements. They'll be like, oh, I got a new job. Oh, I got a car. Oh, I worked hard and, lost X amount of weight and I've completely changed myself. And that sort of highlight reel can take a lot of toll on the person. So the message that I actually have for the audience, without repeating any of the points earlier made, is on one level, our parents and the older generations had some form of resilience because they didn't share their problems, but there was an implicit understanding that life is meant to be tough. Because on one level, they were dealing with a lot worse problems. So you have this thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So our parents, our grandparents were actually fighting for survival. They were fighting to get the next meal. They were fighting to put a roof on their head, to make sure that their kids got a new dress for Diwali. Okay, so those were their challenges. So there was an implicit understanding amongst all of our grandparents and parents that life is tough because everybody around them was struggling. On the other hand, for people of our generation, we have everything. We are not struggling, most of us. We're not struggling to put food on the table. We're not struggling to pay bills. As a result, we don't have that implicit understanding that nothing in life comes easy. Our parents had that understanding. And sometimes when I look at the mental health problems that kids have, a lot of times I feel like this is one thing that we can learn from our parents. And of course, our parents can learn to be more open with their issues from us. And we can learn from them that challenges will come. The way to overcome all of these challenges is to have a better attitude, to have a healthier way to release your emotions and address the anxiety and everything else that you face. So that's the way I think we should address mental health issues.
Yeah, I think, Niyu, what you mentioned, I would just like to iterate a couple of things here. I love the way that you've put things through. This is somewhere relatable to, let's go back to our hunter-gatherer days when we were evolving as humans, right? And when we were in clusters at that point of time, we had to seek from a mental, like a scientific point of view. Why we look at everything as stress right now is because during those times, the hunting gathering times, was when, of course, there was a predator right in front of us. We would look, our mind and body can prepare ourselves for fight and flight, which was like one situation, your body gets ready to either fight if you see that the predator is sort of, someone you can fight with. And if you don't have the potential to fight against the predator, you're supposed to just run away. That's flight. So your body always preparing yourself for the fight and flight situation, and that's the time. The moment that situation would just, go down, when cluster would come together and, prepare their meals and be together as a group and a cluster, the ease point would be their state, their homeostasis, right? Today, when we talk about homeostasis, we look at every situation as crisis, which is why everything is a stress to us. Now, whether you have an exam coming up, that's a stress for you. You're running late for, say, your office or for your work and you're stuck in traffic, you get stressful about it. Maybe your mother did not listen to you for something that, you asked for already the man before, and you get stressful about it. My friends are getting a lot of attention. They're getting, a lot of proposals, and I'm not getting it. That's a stressful situation for me. Also, a lot of people around me are so well decked up in terms of so in with their fashion sense and lifestyle, and I am not. That's a stress for me. So today, what has happened is, earlier during those times, the evolutionary period, we used to look at only certain A, B, C situation as crisis. But today, we look at everything as crisis. Every little thing, which is why our mind and our body is in a constant fight or flight situation. It always wants to be ready to either fight or flight. So, your mind, your body is not easing down, and which is why we see rise in a lot of mental health issue. When it pertains to mental health, so to say, we experience a lot of, internal, even relationship issues as well based on it. So I believe it's more to do with your own perception towards what you look at, as stress and not so stress. And just like Niyu said that, earlier during, when we used to be in groups in our like joint families and things, of course, we used to look up to people around us, right? To connect with, to ask whenever there was some sort of an issue. But today, since we have narrowed down a lot of our social circle, and we've, our perception has completely changed in terms of perceiving something as stress. So even that has caused a lot of turbulence in this entire mental space.
Right, right, right. I really love your insights. I think there's something I've learned from each of you. And I have a few more questions. Let's go about it one by one. So, Niyu, what should a young person do today to deal with the cutthroat competition and peer pressure, according to you?
So the first thing that they need to realize is that competition is going to be there everywhere. Okay, there was competition. That's the law of nature, survival of the fittest. That's how it is in nature as well. So there is competition everywhere. Okay, at no point of your life are you going to escape it. So a lot of times whenever I'm talking to a lot of people in DMs, the kids, I find a reluctance to accept that things like these are going to happen. Now, if there is a lot of competition in India for a lot of competitive exams, the seats are limited, there are a lot of applicants. But there is a similar amount of competition abroad as well for jobs, for getting into universities, for getting scholarships. So that competition is there everywhere. Similarly, once you've graduated, when you're looking for a job, you'll have a lot of applicants, but there are very few people are selected. So this competition is a way of life. And I think that what happens with the young people these days is a sort of denial that this exists. I feel like a lot of problems get eased, or you reduce the harm that you're doing to yourself when you accept that that's how things are. At nowhere in life can you accept, can you run away from competition. I mean, there's competition for stuff like renting a flat and even finding an auto rickshaw. Okay, so or getting into the train. So there is competition everywhere. So the sooner you accept that that's a way of life, the easier and faster you will be able to deal with it. The second thing I really want to explain to a lot of people is the attitude for failure. Okay, and I heard this on an episode of the Huberman Lab. Andrew Huberman's a neuro psychologist, I think, who works at the Stanford School of Medicine, and he had this podcast called the Huberman Lab. So he had an episode where he was talking about failure, and he said whenever you're young, your brain learns from failure. So for example, when a baby is trying to stand up for the first time, they are not going to get it right in the first try. They will get up, their balance will be off, and then they'll fall off to a side. But what happens in the brain when the baby falls is the brain realizes that, okay, my balance was off. That means some pathway that I followed was wrong. So I need to develop and figure out a new pathway. And eventually, after a few tries, the baby gets it right. Because that's how it is. That's how the brain works. So our brain physically, on a physical level, learns from failure. Whenever you make a mistake, for example, if you make a mistake in multiplication, you learn that, okay, I made some mistake. So I need to figure out a new way to get to the result that I want to get. A lot of people, a lot of youngsters these days consider failure as a full stop, not as a way of learning. But when I heard this podcast, it changed my perception completely. I said, that's true. That's how babies learn. But we've made failure into this mega event it's like the end of your life. So much so that kids even commit suicide because they're not able to get the marks that they want, or they fail in a particular exam. And my learning to them is, first of all, not everything is in your control. A lot of things are outside your control. You cannot control who your examiner is going to be, what marks they give. If there's a totaling mistake, for example, when I was in DY BCom, Mumbai University made totaling errors in my marks. Okay, they made 32 marks ka totaling error. So my marks were less by 32, and I lost out on a rank that way. That was completely out of my control. I wrote good papers, enough to get a rank at university, but they made a totaling mistake. I had to go there and calculate it in front of them and say, "Arey bhai, there is a totaling mistake, now change my marks." That is not in my hands, but had I been crushed about that failure, it wouldn't have helped. So that's how it is. Failure is merely a small blip and a wonderful occasion for you to learn. Don't make it as the full stop in your life. So those are the two things for competition.
Really agree with you. I totally believe that solution to any problem starts with the acceptance of the problem. You must develop a certain acceptance towards something that, हाँ ठीक है यार, मेरे को अभी नहीं आता. I do not have it in my hand right now. I'm gonna work towards it, and I'm gonna get it in my control. And again, the point that you mentioned about failure, I agree. You just mentioned about some young kids committing suicide these days. I know of 2 such young people myself, and I know them personally. It shakes my soul to even recollect those thoughts. क्या हुआ था तब? क्या उनकी family ने go through किया? And it's just the most terrible thing that can happen to a family. I'm not talking about a kid. I'm talking about the entire family. What are the signs of mental health decline that a person should look out for? Okay. How do you know whether it's just stress or something that needs intervention?
Okay. So first things first, that whenever, I think it's a very basic calculation that we need to do. It's not something extraordinary. It's not a rocket science that we need to understand that whether I'm struggling with something or not. First thing, when your daily life starts getting hampered, okay, that's when you are supposed to realize that there is something wrong that I need to work upon. It's a very basic calculation. Like I said, you don't have to really seek a lot of help. You don't have to even check with a lot of different people to ask and, get the reassurances saying, actually, there is something wrong with me that I'm not feeling good. I'm supposed to go and seek help. No, it's you. It's your own self-evaluation that you're supposed to, know that I am not feeling myself. Basic, there are certain, levels that we can always, work on. You can find there is lack of focus, lack of concentration. You're not able to go out and socialize with a lot of people. Most importantly, you start losing interest that if once found pleasurable. You used to enjoy doing those activities. Now you don't do it anymore. You don't find that joy, that you don't feel elated to go out and seek that. Why? Because I'm not sure if that's something that I'm any more interested in. A lot of people, when as simple as youngsters, they love listening to music, right? And suddenly, this could be one of the things that they start listening to music. They just don't feel like listening to it. They don't feel like connecting with their friends. They're cancelling on a lot of plans. Their concentration levels have completely drastically dropped down. So these are some of the parameters that will help you in understanding that what you're experiencing right now is not my normal. It's as simple as that, right? So you have to know, and I believe that everyone has a different kind of normal for themselves. Like for me, what's normal might not be normal for you. So only a person can figure out what's normal, what is, whether you're in the right mental state or not. And so, of course, find whether you are in your normal sense of being. If not, if you're facing difficulties in your day-to-day life, in your performances for that matter, you're not able to build good relationships with people, you're having a lot of, low self-esteem, you're doubting yourself. And when these parameters can actually help you, even as simple as having anger bouts, suddenly, you get frustrated, which, if I have to, put it in a straight, simple way, low tolerance. I'm not able to tolerate things now anymore. So anger bouts could be a thing, crime spells could be a thing, low tolerance could be a thing. So these are some of the parameters which gives you a hint that something is not right and it's time either I seek help by my side, just like how you said that it's important that you be solution focused, because I totally believe whenever you want to resolve an issue, you have to focus on solution. One simple funda, what can I do about it? So ask yourself that if I'm not feeling myself, let's just figure out that, let's just seek help. It's as simple. These are some of the parameters that can help me.
एकता, एक बात बोलना चाहूँगी मैं इस पे. After listening to you, I do have a point of my own that I want to share with everybody out there listening to us right now. For me, the thing that actually made a lot of sense, and I decided in my head, that bhai, this is the time I need to consult somebody. That one thing that was happening to me again and again was, I'm going all right with my day, मजा आ रहा है, सब ठीक चल रहा है, all is fine. Suddenly, out of somewhere, there'll be this thought. And I am like a slave to that thought. I cannot overcome it. I have goosebumps right now. I wish I could show it on the camera. I was such a slave to my own mind. I was like, I was losing myself. Everything was normal just a minute ago. Why am I obsessing now? And then hours would go by. 4 hours, 5 hours gone. My family is like, what has happened to you? What's wrong with you? Why are you not smiling? And I'm like, no, I can't. Don't talk to me. I'm a slave right now. I am my own slave. And I would compare myself from 10 or 20 years ago when I was a kid. And I was like, यार मैं तो बड़ी light mooded बंदी थी यार, मैं तो मज़े करती थी, पढ़ती थी, क्लास में अच्छे marks लाती थी. I had such great control over my emotions. What's wrong with me now? And things like these would happen to me. And that was my trigger. Like, that was one thing that told me that I need help because I was becoming a slave of my own mind.
But you know, I'm glad, Aleena, that at least you figured it out by yourself. You evaluated yourself, your sense of being, that what you were, and suddenly there's a shift and there's change in your own self. So, even as simple as finding out the intrusive thoughts that you're having, that's surfacing in your mind right now, even figuring that out could really make a big deal in your life. So I think this is one of the way to figure out if you're not feeling yourself, you're not feeling your new novel, your novel. When you are, you're not feeling right, you are sort of taking your, your best foot backward and not putting yourself into any kind of uncertainty. Because see, life is all about uncertainty, and when you sort of plunge and dive into it, that's how you learn to, live life. Just like Niyu said that, you have to accept that this uncertainty is life. You have to accept that competition is going to be life. So when you start accepting those things is when you're into that sense of being. But suddenly when you realize you're not giving your best self, you're not being your best self, you're not working on your inner, I think I would call it inner demons. Intrusive thoughts is what I call inner demons. So, when you have these intrusive thoughts coming over, you have rumination coming over. So when you can't fight back, that's when you're supposed to go out and seek help.
I just wanted to add on to what both of you all have said. So I think before I decided to seek help and figure that there is at some point of time I feel like अंदर से एक आवाज़ आती है कि नहीं कुछ तो गलत हो रहा है, something is going wrong, and I think you must have felt it too, that okay, something is not right. You will be talking to yourself in a completely weird way, or you will be doing some action where you're like, nahi, this is not right. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go deeper and I'm going to find out what it is that's not going right. And the thing that I want to actually share with a lot of people is that people may think that doing therapy or talking to anybody is just as simple as कि आप किसी से बात करो, आपकी सारी भड़ास निकाल दो, you are just telling them all your problems and it's done. But majority of the work in therapy begins after your session is done, when you'll open all those old wounds, you'll open all those old feelings or those old judgments that you have, and then आपको उस पर खुद काम करना पड़ता है, and that's not an easy process and that's not a quick process. So while a lot of people will just be like, हाँ, we'll do this, but therapy is just step one. The majority of rebuilding your life back or setting your mental priorities correct, so that rewiring that happens in your own time after your sessions are over, after your professionals guide you in that way.
Yes, therapy is actually the start of something rather than people taking it as a finale. But therapy is the finale. It's not like that. That's when you start building yourself. So therapy is utmost important. So, and it's important to go out and seek help when you require, when you think you're not your true self.
Right. So that actually brings me to my next question. Niyu, I have this question for you. How do you think a young person should deal with the pressures that accompany social media usage these days?
So the thing that again, I'm going to reference something I've already watched. There's an amazing TEDx talk on YouTube by a person called Chris Bailey. Okay, he talks about focus and our use of electronic devices. And he said that what happens is when you're constantly surrounded by pings and you're surrounded by electronic devices, what it does is it fractures your ability to focus. And I see that a lot with people. A lot of scientists are now coming and saying that this doom scrolling that people are doing is causing an inability, like it's literally turning your brain into mush. I mean, you're not able to then focus on a lot of things. So the first thing that you need to realize is that social media is just it's one thing. Like there is an entire life that exists outside of social media. Whatever you see on social media is just the glorified version of like पुराने ज़माने में like लोग घर आके बोलते थे कि हमने ये लिया हमने वो लिया we've done this we've you know blown off all our money to buy all these materialistic provisions. Nowadays people do it every alternate day on social media. So it's just like a hyped up version of what used to happen before. It's so sad. It's really sad that consumerism is like the new like path to happiness, but it's actually not. It's so the thing about social media usage that I want every viewer to do is, first off, decide to limit your social media usage. What I had done for a long time was I had just deleted Instagram from my phone. And what I realized is that it ended up, calming me down a lot. It made me feel a lot less anxious because I'm not looking at 100 creators showing me a highlight reel of everything going right. Because ultimately what happens is when you just see 100 people you follow who are like, oh, look, I'm, chilling by the beach and just, relaxing. I'm going for holidays. I'm doing all these things. I'm buying all these materialistic things. So I'm getting all these. Yeah, you start because you compare. I wrote about this on LinkedIn once that you compare the worst part of your life with the highlight of someone else's life. Okay. They're not showing you that they're sitting in their pajamas for most of the days. But you're looking at your pajamas and thinking, yaar, meko designer kapde kyun nahi milte? So that's an entirely wrong comparison. And the way to fix that, I think, and also fix your focus in the same vein, is to figure out which social media you're spending a lot of time on and delete it for some time. What will happen is if you delete it for a month or 2 months, so what will happen is your cravings or your dependence on that app will reduce sharply, and then you will find yourself better able to focus, and all of these anxiety issues that you have, they will sort of like settle. And once they settle, then you can have the app. Because right now what happens is I have the Instagram app, but I can't stay on the app for more than 10 or 15 minutes at a time. I feel bored. So then I discard the app and I might go and listen to a podcast or watch an informative video or read any financial news or something like that. But that break came at the cost of depriving myself from the social media, whatever social media you're on. So figure out which social media you're hooked on to and then delete it for a month, 2 months, reset your patterns, and then you'll realize that you don't crave it anymore.
I second what you say. You know what? Actually, and this is something that I'm actually following these days. So as you know, I'm myself a content creator, but I use my social media only to upload and publish. Honest, hand on heart, I'm not consuming content these days. I've actually taken a long pause. It's been 20 days. I haven't seen any feed. I've always been very vocal about this, कि भाई, social media is extremely powerful. If you can use it to build something for yourself, do it. If you do not know how to control your mind when you're on social media, you curtail the usage. You take a step back. And that's what I say, that if you can use it properly, you can be rich, you can be healthy, you can be so much more. The question is that what are some easy to implement lifestyle changes and decisions a young person can make to start feeling better immediately?
I know everyone right now listening to this whole series that we have today, like the panel that we had, everyone knows, and I'm so sure about what's going to come next. Basic lifestyle changes is your food, your sleep, and your exercise, your movement of the body. People really undermine the value of these 3 things, but they do affect or not your basic habits. That I believe in one thing, that whatever goals that you have, a lot of us, youngsters today, they don't show what exactly their life goals are, and that's completely fine. We're in no rush. Sometimes we are sort of pinning ourselves down because I saw my friend doing exceptionally well. Maybe got this Z's job that I wanted to have, like a dream job, something that I've been looking for. And this person has it now. So you know what happens? You start beating yourself. You bash yourself on black and blue because you don't have what they had. So what happens is you're somewhere, you do not realize that you are putting yourself into this state of, numbing your emotions somewhere. So basic habits as doing something that makes you aware of your goal, of what exactly do you want to do in your life, and what are the goals that you have. Say for example, today if I feel I want to have a good health, okay, something that to nourish my body, something that sustains my body for a longer period of time, something that keeps any kind of a disease or discomfort away from me. So I know what my goals are, and I have to decide what are the three things, like three habits of everyday habits that I'm supposed to indulge in that will get me closer to those goals. So be aware of your daily habits, because you can't. I believe one basic funda that I truly stand for, which is you cannot have the life of your dreams by sitting right there on your couch, watching TV the entire day, doom scrolling, and absolutely not taking any action for the life that you've been wanting to have. So you're supposed to move out of your comfort zone. So start moving out of your comfort zone. Whether it's about exercising, people don't realize, but movement. In fact, there were a couple of studies that were being found recently that exercise or any kind of a movement can actually keep you away from any mental health issue that could be depression and anxiety both, which are very common in today's generation, or even the older ones for that matter. Exercise is because the release of endorphins, the release of certain hormones that kind of pushes you to keep doing better and better. And just like Niyu mentioned about the doom scrolling habit, I really appreciate this, because a lot of people, they don't realize the easiest way is to get off the app and keep yourself away from it. But do you know that there was a study conducted that people who were addicted to social media or to any kind of scrolling, they had this specific part of the brain which lit down, and which releases vasospirit, which is a hormone that is found in any kind of addiction to cocaine or heroin or alcohol, cigarettes. The same kind of hormone was being released in the body when they were going through the scrolling of the social media, things like that. So it is addictive. Let's accept this. The only thing is, when you know that you are addicted to something like this, it's because we love this entire idea of cheap dopamine, right? Because it gives you a cheap dopamine thrill. It's like you open Instagram and you're like, because there's something uncertain that's going to come up. And you're so thrilled, you have this thrill that you don't know what the next reel or the video is going to be, or what your feed is going to show you. So you have this cheap dopamine attack that comes to you. And this is how you fulfill your satiate your love for, calming yourself down. This is one of the way you calm yourself down as well. We see a lot of youngsters, when they're not feeling good, or maybe they had a fight in the family, or maybe with their loved ones. The only thing that they do is take their phone and start scrolling, because maybe that's going to be an easy way to escape from the reality. So it's an escape from the reality. It's important to set healthy boundaries with social media or any kind of habit that is not going to help you grow. So best way to bring out a better lifestyle is write down all the habits that you can, that's going to help you grow better in your life. That could be mindful of the food that you eat, be mindful of doing exercise or any kind of movement. A lot of people think that, when we say exercise, it has to be a 70-minute, 60-minute, 30-minute of rigorous workout. No, it could be anything that you are comfortable with. It could be dancing. It could be, just going for a walk. It could be just, doing some kind of a movement. Or it's all about getting your body into the groove, okay? That releases endorphins in your body, that gets you in a better state of mind, rather than the state of stagnancy. So movement is important no matter whatever your style of movement is, but make sure that you dedicate at least 30 minutes to it. It could be just you're not feeling good. Instead of just picking up the phone and start scrolling, just wear your shoes and move out. It's about, even if it means just go and walk on the road, like mindlessly, like a mindless chicken, do it. Just go and do it. That's the point. So, perhaps you get into any kind of movement, and most importantly, people don't realize, and Aleena, I feel so bad about this, is people don't understand or do not value the importance of sleep. Sleep is so important, and Gen Zs don't realize. All they do is, of course, they have their phones with them. Underrated. I mean, the entire idea of sleep is being thrashed today, and I feel extremely bad about it. For me, like, I'll be honest, I sleep around, say, 10:30. That's my max time. Like, 9:30, I keep all the devices away. I'm off everything, and I try to keep it as much as possible, unless there's something urgent that came up. But I would just keep things away. I would just read book. I would meditate. I would just relax myself. This is something, this is like a message that you give to your mind and your body that, oh, it's time, just sleep. And it is important, more than a lot of people come up and say कि यार मैं तो पर सोता हूँ, मतलब 2-3 बजे सो जाता हूँ, सुबह को मतलब मैं 8 घंटे तो मेरी नींद हो जाती है. It's not about the hours of sleep. It's about what time do you sleep. It's about your timing, right? And as per research, it's been said that your 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. is actually the time when your mind and body repairs. Okay? This is a very crucial time. Yes, it's a very crucial time from 10 to 3. So a lot of, say for example, if you slept at 12 o'clock, you have 3 hours to repair your body, right? Which is like 50% of your body, going into this entire series of reparation and things like that. But if you sleep at say 2 or 3, you won't even get the chance to repair yourself, to rejuvenate. That you can't expect your body and your mind to function well. And if you ask yourself that the day when you did not get good sleep, यार उस दिन सुबह ना मतलब वो mind focus नहीं करता है, you don't feel bored, you feel so groggy, you feel sluggish, you're irritable, you're frustrated, and there are a lot of things that comes up, right? Eat, scroll, do all the mindless activities. And if you really, it's important to live more mindful life, and which is why supposedly if you sleep at say 10:30, 11 o'clock, you've got a good window for your mind and body to repair. And I've realized this. And this is what I would really suggest on the youngsters, to ensure that you sleep around say 11 o'clock. At least a lot of people have FOMO. There's something called mindless, it's called something, I forgot the terminology for it. But a lot of people scroll through the night is because it's called bedtime revenge procrastination. Okay. So it's bedtime revenge procrastination. So what happens, a lot of people, they tend to take their phone रात में, क्योंकि it gives them a sense of self कि अभी कोई मुझसे कुछ expect नहीं कर रहा है, मुझे किसी के calls नहीं आने वाले हैं, ये मेरा time है. So I have full control over my time right now. And a lot of people, when they think that during the day, the waking hours, the hours when they were awake, when they think that they did not enjoy much, they did not have much control over their time, that's when they, get into a lot of scrolling, they get into a lot of watching Netflix or Amazon or things like that during the night time. That's how they kill their sleep, and that's something, that's more like a revenge you give to your own self. But उससे हो क्या रहा है? उससे you're damaging your own psyche, your own balance, your own mental stability. It's not going to help you in longer term. So rather, what I usually suggest people, that अगर आपको लगता है that in the entire day you didn't do something that you wanted to do, then give yourself that at least शाम के time पे couple of hours that to do what you want to do, something that no one disturbs you about, something that has you have complete control over, something that no one disturbs you in that time space. That's the time period you do, so you don't get into this rut of cycle, the vicious cycle of the revenge bedtime procrastination. So sleep, eat well, and most importantly is get into any kind of a movement, and build habits that are going to make you a better version of yourselves. ठीक है, क्योंकि आज से 1 महीने बाद अगर आप देखोगे So you thank yourself, कि अच्छा ठीक है, I started something a month back. You're going to be in a better state rather than doing nothing. So it's like something rather than nothing.
The comment section of the video, I do not know if you have it in front of you right now or not, but it's been buzzing. There's so many questions for you guys. Let's start with the first one. How to deal with overthinking? How to deal with overthinking?
So I'm a classic overthinker, and what helps me is to get out all of my thoughts in some form or the other. It's like my coping mechanism for overthinking is to get it all out, because the more I keep it inside me, the more it'll be like कि cooker की सीटी, like cooker के अंदर steam है and it can't find a anywhere. Okay, so then that's catastrophe. So I've realized that if you want to curb overthinking, you figure out, for me personally, the outlet is writing. So a few things that I have is, one is a journal where I'll write my thoughts. And while I'm writing my thoughts, I realize that I started with one thought, but by the end of it, I realize, like, I'll be writing कि ये सही नहीं हुआ, ये सही नहीं हुआ, ये सही नहीं हुआ, ये सही नहीं हुआ. But at somewhere while writing all these thoughts, I realize कि हाँ ठीक है, this is not my fault, this is not my fault, this is not my fault, but here I can work, here I can realize, because I've got that pressure or those, excessive thoughts out of my mind, out of my system, my mind can move on to think of something better. My second coping mechanism is to write about all of my failures and the not so cool moments on LinkedIn. So I found that it was very harmful that everybody just kept sharing all the positive sides of being a content creator, or shared all of their, good things. So that's why LinkedIn I'll write about my failures, so that then, one, I get a chance to acknowledge that I made these mistakes, so I can look back and find all of my mistakes. And two, to tell people that content creation is not such a glamorous journey. There are a lot of, bullets that we have to take behind our backs. So that's my second coping mechanism. And the third coping mechanism is, if you feel that people might come and read your diary or journal or whatever, create an email account and promise yourself never to see that email account. So anytime you feel frustrated and बहुत गुस्सा आ रहा है, just type an email that goes to that email address. So it's like you're just taking all of your thoughts, you're kind of crumpling it together, and you're sending it into cyberspace. So nobody knows what the email ID is. Forget the password, forget everything. Let it just go there, and that's your virtual, landfill. Just don't read it, because then that'll just be all of your that'll just be a lot of waste. So the basic thing is, if you want to cull overthinking, it's to find out a coping mechanism or get it out of your system. Because once you get it out of the system, or you start pulling the thread to overthinking, you'll realize that, okay, maybe it's coming from some fear that you have, or maybe it's coming from some sort of judgment. So just keep pulling the thread, get it out of your system, and realize, why are you overthinking? Like, are you overthinking because you're scared? Are you overthinking because you're thinking people will judge me, or I'll fail at something? So identify what is the root cause of that overthinking. And that will only come if you sort of like get it out of the system. Like, once you identify this is what is making me overthink, that most of the times it's fear. A lot of times fear makes us overthink. So once you identify that okay, I'm scared that I'll go to this event and then I won't be properly dressed, or nobody will come talk to me, then you realize okay, this is something realistic, I can work on it. As compared to the overthinking mind that is telling you you are no good. You cannot work with you are no good, but you can work with I'm scared that I will not look good, because then you can get a better dress. You can figure out, you can borrow someone else's dress, you can wear good shoes, you can wear good perfume, or nobody will talk to me. You can figure out a way to deal with that. But you can't deal with the overblown things that are overthinking mind will then.
Yeah, but Niyu, I'll tell you, I just have to, pin this out that just like this might work for Niyu, just like the way that she said, कि अच्छा लिख दो, खत्म हो जाएगा, and then it's out of sight, out of mind. For a lot of people, they know it. And what happens with overthinking, it's more like a rumination of irrational thought. Okay, for a lot of us, we know that overthinking comes with uncertainty, that you don't know how something is going to turn out to be. And which is why you start overthinking. And there is like एक thought से दूसरा thought latched है, दूसरे thought से तीसरा thought latched है. So you somewhere it's interconnected with each other. Journaling, just like she said, it's very, very important. But more than that, I really want to, the reason why I put this up is because I want to talk about something which is very profound. If you want to deal with any kind of stress or any kind of, overthinking, you have to understand about these two circles that we have in our life. A smaller circle, which has all the things that we can control. It could be our judgments, our opinions, our thoughts, our belief systems, our, the way we dress, the way we be, the way we talk, the way we present ourselves, everything that we do, our choices and everything. That's something which is we deal, okay? And uske bahar, there's another outer circle, which is all the things that we cannot control. That is someone else's judgments towards you, their opinion towards you, their, some situation that has arrived right now. Or it could be, someone's choice of their life or someone's behavior. It's as simple as that. So what happens with overthinking is you forget that I'm supposed to focus on the inner circle, but you start focusing on the outer circle, right? So when you start focusing on the outer circle, that is what someone else is doing, what the situation is, blah, 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 something which is not under your control. That's when you start overthinking. That's when you have irrational thoughts. And that's when it's time for you to ask yourself, अच्छा ठीक है कि ये situation है. What can I do about it? Simple. Okay, someone behaved like this with me. Someone just bashed me online. ऐसे बोल दिया. अच्छा ठीक है, what can I do about it now? Can I change someone's mind? No. Can I change someone's perception towards me? I can't. But at least I have a choice either to ignore it because I know that, it's how they've been, how their experience is. Because अगर कोई इंसान कुछ बोल रहा है, it's as per, it's based on their experience and their exposure that they had earlier in their, in their entire life journey. So this is very important to understand. Let me focus on what I can control. Journaling is a great way. Emailing ka, why I've been a little bit hesitant. Of course, it works for Mayati. But when you say journaling, when you write it down, as per research, when you write it, you're letting everything that's there, like a whole bundle of erratic thoughts in your subconscious mind, you let it through your hand and you let it out from your system. So writing does help because it's a process that's connected to your subconscious mind, which is why, a lot of people, they do these affirmations and a lot of positive writing. कि अच्छा ठीक है ये sentences लिखो 5 बार. हमारे स्कूल में आपको क्यों बोलते थे जब कोई आंसर गलत लिख देते थे तो टीचर यूज्ड टू बी लाइक कि अच्छा ठीक है हमें 25 बार लिखो. Why? Because your writing is directly connected to your subconscious mind. So whatever you write, either you're letting it out or you write positive things, you're letting it in. It depends.
Basically, to call overthinking, just figure out whatever works for you. I give you the 3 things that work for me, but ultimately, like with there, just like personal finance, and Aleena will say, just like personal finance with mental health, it's personal. So then what works for you may not work for someone else. Like my basic idea of suggesting the email wala thing was simply because a lot of people may not be in a situation where, they can write a private diary and be like, oh shit, mummy पढ़ लेगी, पापा पढ़ लेंगे, और मुझे पापा और bitching करनी है, पापा ने पढ़ लिया तो फिर घर में बहुत फटके पड़ेंगे. So then if you want to kind of avoid that, you can just kind of send it in cyberspace and be done with it. So like, because that's another trauma to deal with, कि आपने journal में कुछ लिखा था, बहुत private था, and you were just getting your badass out, and पापा ने पढ़ लिया, and then फिर, more कचरा, because you're like, oh my god, Baba, I did not need to call you that, but I was just dealing with stress. My day.
But it's not just mom and dad, but it's about something which is so personal to you and you want to write it down. Of course, you can't because you're always in that whole zone.
पकड़े जाएंगे. How to deal with the stress of unemployment?
It's quite a difficult question because I've actually seen a friend of mine who was unemployed for about 8 or 9 months in 2021, I think. And we used to have frequent conversations, and for him, his anchor point was his guru. So he found that anchor point in his life to have some sort of a support, because we're in this sort of an uncertain economy where there are a lot of layoffs. So on one side, you have to keep up with applying the jobs, and on the other side, and get rejections, and on the other side, also keep yourself stable. So one way you can deal with the stress of, because I am an accountant, one way you can deal with the stress of unemployment is to first financially plan for it. You may have a job, you may have a good business, but you never know how life will go. So it's very essential to plan for the worst things in life so that when those things come, you're not completely screwed over. So the first way to deal with the stress of unemployment is to have some sort of financial backup. The second thing is to have some sort of an anchor. That anchor can be any spiritual guide. It can be whichever god you believe in. It can be anything else. It can be a particular hobby. It can be something. But have something as an anchor so that that provides you proper support whenever you're feeling dejected. Because unemployment sometimes can stretch to a long period of time. So those are my two.
Guys, thank you very much. 1 hour just passed. I really, it's just time flew totally.
Same.
This is my first
Same.
time speaking with the two of you, and I loved it really. Thank you very much for joining us
Thank
on
you.
Groww
Thank
Plus.
you.